What's up, everybody? This is episode 3 of the 1796 Sports Podcast. We are going to be reviewing the Tennessee-Alabama game. There's not going to be very many positives here. This is going to be a pretty negative show today, I think. So let's go ahead and get the positives out of the way. The first half was amazing. Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, first half, Heupel's game plan looked somewhat competent, which was a stark difference than what happened in the second half. But trying to stay positive to start, like you said. I mean, you moved the ball. The defense got a big turnover. I mean, everything was clicking, and even when I think they kicked it out of bounds on purpose to end the second half. But even if you didn't, you got a sack on the Hail Mary. Like everything was going your way. And then we had a Chernobyl level nuclear meltdown in the second half. So,
yeah, I mean, it was for anybody who didn't catch the game or see anything. We were up 20-7 at the half, and then didn't score a freaking point the rest of the game. So,
yeah, you had full momentum going into the second half. I don't know, and Elijah Herring interview talking about how they came out thinking they won the game already is absurd. You should never say that about any game, especially playing Alabama at Tuscaloosa. It makes no sense to me. And you could sense it on the first drive of the game. Alabama, and don't get me wrong, we'll get into the officiating, but like it's just absurd the fact that they scored 27 points and we scored 0 in the second half. It makes no sense to me. The play calling, the shotgun formations on 4th and inches on our own 40-yard line, it's insane. I don't know what else to say about it.
Okay, I want to point something out there. So what Herring said about the reason that we played like dog shit in the second half is because they thought that they had already won the game. Why in the hell would you think that? This is a team that you've beaten once in 15 years, and you think that you can be cocky enough to play like you've already won? What the hell's wrong with you? Why would you think that? There's no reason. I don't care if you're winning 50-0 at halftime. This is Alabama. This is a team that you never freaking beat. You don't have the luxury of saying that, we don't have to go hard anymore. We already won. You do not have the luxury to say that. This is not Austin Peay. You can't lollygag for a half and not get your ass kicked. Like, I don't understand that mindset. I don't know if I would thank to God that the coaches did not instill that mindset in them.
I was just about to say that, Bryce. I mean, surely to God, the coaches didn't come into halftime and say, okay, guys, just keep doing what you're doing.
If that's the case, I'm going to choose to believe that that's not the case, because if that is the case, we have bigger fucking problems. Edit that out. I don't want to say the F word in the show. But if that's the case, we got bigger problems, because that's inexcusable. I mean, like I said, I don't care if you're playing against the Tennessee School for the Blind. You do not have the luxury of pretending that you don't have to try. Yeah. That's absurd.
I mean, I think that comes down to the leadership amongst the players. I mean, how in the world is not one player saying, guys, we do not have them buried yet. We have to keep on pushing. It's one of the damn game maxims.
Yeah.
Don't let up, put on more steam.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they claim is one of their maxims, but they very rarely do it. Let me just say, I think we're getting a little bit too into the negative. It's easy to get into the negatives.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Let's go one by one. We'll start with normal Vol fan. Just give me one positive takeaway from this game.
I'm gonna be honest. I think obviously no one played good in the second half, but I really enjoyed watching Joe Milton play in that first half. I think he did really well. I think the cockiness got to him a little bit and let it get away from him. But that first half, Joe Milton looked pretty good. I mean, he did miss that one touchdown throw to Jacob Warren, which is whatever. I mean, you're not going to be perfect, but if I was being positive, I'd say Joe Milton played a one hell of a game. Because if Joe Milton played worse than that, the game wouldn't have been close at all. So
Absolutely.
that's definitely my one positive note.
Ryan, what's yours?
I I can't think of one.
Not
Sorry.
one positive?
Not one positive that we haven't already said.
Okay. Like I said, I'll go with normal ball fan. I mean, I think it was. We'll obviously break this down more in a little bit, but I think it was encouraging to see Joe Milton's half, emphasis on half. He didn't. I don't think he played horrible in the second half, just being honest. But I thought it was encouraging to me to see that we are capable when we play our best. We are capable of hanging with the top dogs. So that I think that's my positive is when we're on our best, we can hang.
Well, that's my thing. I was going to say that before. If Tennessee could play that first half against every team, Tennessee could beat anybody.
Yeah.
Like that was a great first half defensively. The offense played way above average to what we're compared to seeing. I mean, the running game wasn't there, which was kind of expected. We knew we needed Joe Milton at this point, but yeah, I think that first half Tennessee could beat anybody, but I feel like it's been all season. I mean, would you guys disagree? I feel like like almost every game this year, we've either had a quarter or two quarters where we just didn't show up.
Yeah, you poop your pants in a quarter or a half of every single game.
Yeah, I mean, even I don't even Virginia. I mean, even the opener. I mean, look how bad the offense was at the beginning of that game. I mean, that was kind of a sign of things to come, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I can't really think of a single game. I mean, I guess South Carolina would probably be the closest, right? Where we actually played to
The
our
whole game.
like played a whole game. I don't know. It's concerning. It's definitely concerning, and it has to make you question the leadership of this team, coaching wise and player wise. I'm not sure, and I know a lot of our playmakers are younger. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but then again, your quarterback has been in college for 6 damn years. So let's just go ahead and get into it. This is what everybody wants to hear. This is what everybody wants to talk about. So we'll go one by one. We'll start with normal Vol fan again. What's your main concern from this performance?
Are we specifically talking about Joe Milton or the whole game?
The whole game, yeah.
I mean, I feel like we talked about it, but like to me, it's just I don't know how because I mean I don't know about you guys, but in high school, even just high school sports in general, when you have a half like that, I just don't know how you come out just dead. Like I just don't know how you're not coming out wanting more blood. Like how do you not come out with
that's
more passion?
sorry to interrupt you, but that's why I think that Herring was telling the truth, because that's the only explanation is they really thought that they had it in the bag.
No, I agree. I just don't. It doesn't make sense, and it'll never make sense because, like, you're beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and like we were handily like. And don't get me wrong, Nick Saban came out and adjusted his game plan. Like, I mean, he destroyed Josh Heupel in the second half. Like, obviously, I mean, we scored 0 points, but like, he absolutely manhandled us in the coaching game in that second half. So
Absolutely.
it's not all about the players and how they didn't come out with the intensity they did in the first. Obviously, Nick Saban made the adjustments and we didn't. So that's another thing to talk about is the coaching.
All right, Ryan, this is your moment.
So I think, oh God, okay. Joe Milton had his best game of the season. It's not even close. And we netted 13 points on offense. What the hell? What is going on? If netting 13 points is good enough, I disagree. No, it's not good enough. And a part of the adjustment Saban made was all right, Milton can't throw over the middle. Let's just guard the outside and stack the box and stop the run. And we scored 0 points.
Yep, that leads into mine. I think that's a great segue, Ryan. I was going to point this out. So everybody knows the final score was 34-20. Something that I haven't seen many people talk about on Twitter, though, because everybody's been focused on something else that we'll get to later. This rushing game for Tennessee was by far the worst that we've had. Joe Milton, this will tell you all you need to know. Joe Milton was the leading rusher for the Vols, 15 carries for 59 yards. That is absurd. And I think at this point, we can officially say if you shut down Tennessee's three-headed monster in the backfield, the offense is putrid at best. I mean, when Jalen Wright is going to get 11 carries for 22 yards, Brentwood Academy has a more dynamic offense than we do. I mean, and it's not their fault. I'm not blaming Wright, Small, or Sampson because a lot of the time the lanes weren't there. Alabama swarmed tackles. Alabama played it well. They knew what they had to do. And this is what I was worried about in our preview show. And I said, I'm very, very worried that we're not going to be able to run on this Bama defense like we have been against other teams. And sure enough, Saban showed why he's Saban, why he's the best coach of all time, probably. Our running backs pretty much had no impact on the ground. I mean, Jalen Wright made an impact because he caught 7 passes. But yeah, I mean, I think that's my number one concern is like when our running backs aren't having great games, our offense is abysmal.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how good Joe Milton plays because, like, he still didn't throw for 300 yards. He's yet to do that.
He didn't. I mean, he didn't. He didn't throw for 300 yards, but I do want to give him. I mean, I do want to give him a little bit of credit because he threw for 271 and 2 touchdowns. Didn't turn the ball over. Well, he did turn the ball over, but he didn't throw a pick. And that should be good enough to win. I mean, that should be good enough with our defense and the way that we run the ball usually. 271 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks should be good enough. I mean, that's game manager. That should be good enough. But it wasn't. And, Joe Milton, did he miss a couple throws? Yeah, he did. But once again, multiple catchable balls dropped, hit receivers in the hands. I mean, Dante Thornton needs to spend 2 whole weeks on the drugs machine.
No, he's done. He should be done.
Yeah, I mean, it was absurd. I think, and then NVF we'll go to you and see what you think about this. But I just want to say I think Dante Thornton really killed the momentum. I think it was the first drive. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was the first or second drive. He was wide freaking open at like the 5-yard line. And it just bounced right out of his hands, and we ended up settling for a field goal. That would have totally changed the dynamic if he caught that ball.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I get why he dropped it. Like, I understand after watching the replay.
Yeah, because he was scared because there was a guy.
Yeah, he looked up, and he took the eyes off the ball. But that's a pass. That's one of the catches that you have to make to where you catch that, you're going to get hit, and you just catch it, and you brace for that impact, and that's it. Catch the ball. You don't need to get those extra yards.
An SEC receiver has to catch that.
Right. I agree. I totally agree. I don't think, and I think Dante Thornton needs to, and this goes to probably a topic we're going to talk about later too. I think you got to get some of those young receivers in the game now. I think Dante needs to I think he knows. I feel like the coaches know it's time to he has gotten far less snaps than he did at the beginning of the season, but it's time to just let Nimrod and, all those young guys, Caleb Webb, play and just let them get some experience. I mean, our wide receivers have been pretty bad other than Squirrel White. Ramel Keaton decided, I guess, he got some new gloves yesterday. He caught a couple balls. But other than that, I mean, Ramel Keaton's been non-existent all year, it feels like. But Squirrel White, Bruce hurt. You might as well get those new guys in there.
Yeah, Nimrod didn't have any impact on the game yesterday after he led the team last week. So I don't understand that. I mean, that was strange to me. He didn't record a statistic.
Right. And I want another topic is that Dylan Sampson got 4 carries, 28 yards, averaged 7 yards a carry, and all he got was 4 touches.
Yeah, the way that Heupel utilizes Sampson is Sampson like dating Heupel's daughter or something. I don't understand like what is.
I don't know, but if I'm Sampson, I'm starting to wonder like, am I going to be here next year? That's how I'd be thinking if I was him.
Yeah, I mean, Jabari Small got 8 carries, 3 yards per carry. Wright got 11 carries, 2 yards a carry. Sampson, 7 yards a carry, gets 4 carries. I don't get it. And Ramel Keaton, I don't understand Ramel Keaton. He's the most confusing player on the team, in my opinion, because if he's wide open with 10 yards away from the nearest receiver, he's probably not going to catch it. But if the defensive back is doing a WWE finishing move on him, he'll catch it. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get. It has to be a mental thing because I know he's talented.
Yeah, it's got to be mental. I mean, it's just you get cold feet whenever you're wide open. I remember me missing layups in high school, and in basketball,
yeah.
like you just like, oh, this is easy. This is gonna be easy. Drop, miss layup, like it's got to be mental. It's and I want to get one more thing off about Joe Milton. What was the main reason for him starting before this game? I think we said it last week. Leadership.
Mm-hmm.
If he's such a good leader, why did our offense go into hibernation in the second half?
It's a fair point.
I mean,
sorry to cut you off, but I to me, it's not all Joe Milton though, because the play calling was absolutely like atrocious. Now, don't get me wrong. Joe should have been a leader and maybe said something to a coach like, yo, like this ain't working. Let's fix it. But I mean, I agree with you. I just don't know. I mean, it was a whole team thing, but Joe Milton needed to step up and say something, do something. I don't know. But who knows?
Yeah.
What do you think oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Bryce. I think if you said something to a coach about the play calling, the coach would be like, "Why do you think we're calling plays like this, brother? It's because you can't throw over the middle."
Then why is he in?
That's exactly my point. Why?
Okay.
And you both know me. I'm not going to tell you to put Nico in over Joe. I'm not. I mean, at this point, I might, but I'm just saying, like, if you're not going to trust your quarterback, then why is he playing?
Yeah,
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. But I mean, do we really think that we win that game yesterday if Nico plays? I don't.
Absolutely not.
I don't think that had a lick to do with it. I mean, I think going forward, Nico might give us the best option. I mean, it's clear that Heupel does not trust Milton. He obviously doesn't trust him to audible. Like Milton, I don't think Milton has the ability to audible because he never does. But I don't think, and this is what I wanted to get into next. This is a good segue. What's the reason we lost? I ran a poll on Twitter, got over 200 votes. But before I give those results, I want to hear you guys' answer to that question. What's the main reason we lost?
Ryan, you want to answer this first?
Coaching. Simple. I mean, when you get outscored 27-0 in the second half, it's on coaching. And you can break that down many different ways. I'm sure we will, but it's coaching.
No, I agree with Ryan. I think it's and the coaching in the first half was amazing. It's just coming out in the second half and not adjusting to Nick Saban's adjustments. But coaching, and I'm not normally this guy, but the fact that the most penalized team in the SEC had 1 penalty and it was an obvious false start is a problem. And I'm not saying officiating was the reason we lost, but Squirrel White getting just hammered in the end zone at the end of the game, not called, right in front of a ref. pass interference on the side of the field. I mean, Tyler Barron got his neck ripped off when he was about to sack Jalen Milroe on a touchdown pass. No call. I mean, we go all day with these calls. And don't get me wrong, they probably missed a couple calls on us, but like absurd that they had one penalty the whole game.
I agree. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of something you don't want to be this guy, but at some point it's just true. It's just a fact. When you're playing Alabama, it's like when you're playing the Tom Brady Patriots or, Patrick Mahomes, there's going to be some phantom calls. You're just not going to get the 50-50 calls. You're just not. So that's a thing. I wanted to go over what our Twitter followers had to say. So we actually received 300 votes on the poll, and it's pretty lopsided. So I said, who do you all blame most for the loss today? 66% of the 300 votes went to coaching. The next biggest option, I had Joe Milton, coaching, defense, and other as the options. After coaching at 66%, the next closest was other at 23%. And pretty much nobody blamed it on the defense or Joe Milton. So for other, the 23%, almost all of those 23% responded by blaming the refs. But the vast majority of people are obviously blaming coaching. And I wanted to read do a couple shout outs. Posy3171 on Twitter said that Golesh not being here is obviously a problem for Heupel. That's interesting. Lots of people said officiating. So yeah, what do y'all think about that?
I don't think Golesh not being here is a problem. I mean, it's Heupel's offense. He calls the plays. I think for whatever reason,
more of a personnel issue, or
yes, for whatever reason. Well, I think I know the reason. He refuses to call plays that go over the middle. And if he's going to stick with Joe Milton, I don't understand why Heupel's living with 20 points a game in the last 2 games, 3 offensive touchdowns. Like, if that's good enough for Josh Heupel, then he's completely somebody's kidnapped him and buried him in a closet somewhere. Like, I just don't understand how you're going to stick with him if you're hamstrung play calling.
Yeah, I mean, NVF, you got any thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I said it before. I just don't understand how you stop this running game. And I've been saying this about Kentucky. You stop the running game, you're going to win the game. But now, I mean, they've seen how to beat us. You just literally stack the box, cover the outside, and we're not going to throw down the middle. I mean, and if that's the case, like I said before, why is he in the game? I mean, at this point, and like I said, I'm probably the biggest Joe Milton supporter, but at this point, why are you not playing Nico? I mean, you might as well just get him experience at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we have a murderer's row to finish the year either, besides Georgia. I'm looking at it like you have 3 games that are winnable to get him ready for Georgia. It's by no means a murderer's row. You can say whatever you want about Missouri, but like with a good quarterback that can run Heupel's offense, and a big part of Heupel's offense thrown over the middle, you win all 3 games. I mean, it's going to be tough to get him ready in 3 games and have him ready to he's probably not going to make a move. Let's all just be honest. He's probably not.
I agree.
He's probably not going to go to Nico, but I just don't understand why you wouldn't if you're like, it's like I said, Heupel is completely. It's like somebody kidnapped him. His mouth is duct taped and he's with it handcuffed in a closet somewhere. Like, this is out of character. Why are you living with it?
Can I give my biggest pet peeve? And I'm punished by my favorite NFL team and my favorite college team doing the same shit. And it is my biggest pet peeve in football. When it is 4th and 1, why in the hell Do you think it's a good idea to line up out of the shotgun? It never works. Why would you put yourself further away from the line to gain? I don't understand it. And every coach freaking does it. The tush push works 95% of the time. Even if you don't want to do a tush push, just do a regular QB sneak. It's not rocket science. I mean, I don't understand. Joe Milton is built like a freaking linebacker. I'm pretty sure he could get half a yard. I
Yeah.
will never, ever understand 4th and 1 halfback draw out of the shotgun. I will never understand that.
No, I completely agree, especially when you got a Jacob Warren and a McCastles that could just push Joe Milton. That's 6'6", 220 pounds. It makes no sense to me.
You're making a
It blew
4th
my
and 1 to
mind.
4th and 3. Like
More than that, it's you're starting 5 yards behind the
makes
line.
no
I
it
mean,
makes no
especially against Alabama, when you have an Alabama defensive front that's been stopping you all damn game, and you do it two times, and you're on your side of the field. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, if you're gonna decide to go for it, which like it's like y'all just said, you're starting 5 yards further back and you're running a vanilla play after the play clock's been running down. When our running game seems to only be effective whenever we're running tempo, it makes no damn sense. It's a joke, and he has to get better at short down distance situations. Like you cannot continue to go on like this.
I mean, even something I was thinking about, like, I know we did not play very well against Austin P, which, whatever. But the offense started clicking against Austin P when we did the up-tempo bubble screens. And which, if you don't trust your quarterback, it's not the worst game plan in the world. And we really haven't tried to do that since.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if you don't trust your quarterback, you would think you'd want to do short little quick routes, get the ball out of his hands fast. But instead, it's like halfback draw, halfback draw, halfback draw, maybe a Milton scramble, try to go deep, receiver will probably drop it. I mean, it's the most out of sync offense ever. Like, it just is not. If the running back, like we said earlier, if the running game is not getting going, it is the most vanilla offense you'll ever see.
Yeah.
well, okay, and I do want to say something about Joe Milton. Like, that was one thing that if he did this run thing this whole season, I think the season looks a little bit different. Like, all these games, like, we were disappointed in him and all this, but like, I was shocked that we were seeing all these runs by Joe Milton. Like, I was like, where has this been? I mean, do you guys agree, or are you guys upset about that, or like?
Yeah, it's like I said whenever I first started talking about Joe. I mean, it's his best game of the year, and a lot of it had to do with him using his legs. I mean, and we still couldn't like find somebody open over the middle, or we just refused to call a play that goes open over the middle because of his interceptions over the middle. Like, if you're not going to trust him and you have everything working with him that you think is going to work, and you still can't throw over the middle, it's like we just said. Well, why is he in the game? Like, I don't get it.
So what do you guys think about the going into this week though? Like, are you still rolling with Joe against Kentucky? Because I mean, it's a must win game. I mean every game at this point is a must win game. So do you roll with Joe, or are you guys on the Nico bandwagon? Me personally, I think you still go with Joe for Kentucky. But honestly, I don't see why either you play Joe one quarter against UConn and Nico the rest, or even just start Nico the UConn game and let him get some reps.
Well, I mean, we're not going to win a national championship this year. I mean, we was sitting at 2 losses.
You have to win the SEC.
Yeah, you got to win the SEC at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we will do. I'm just saying. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, so why not just let Nico play at this point? I mean, we're going to make a bowl. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not like we have a ton to play for. We might as well just let Nico get reps at this point.
Yeah, I think the most likely scenario is Joe gets the Kentucky game for you, and then Nico plays a lot against UConn if they're even thinking about making a move.
I agree with you, Ryan. Though I don't think they're going to make a move.
Yeah, but if they're thinking about it, that's probably the route they're going to go. But it's just so frustrating watching our offense from last year compared to this year. When I think the coaches, echo this in how they call plays, that they don't have as good of a quarterback.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to cape for Heupel because I do think he's made some very questionable decisions. But I mean, look at last year. You have, 2 NFL receivers, possibly 3 if you count Brew, and you have an NFL quarterback. And what do you have this year? I mean, Joe Milton is not going to sniff an NFL roster. Keaton and Thornton will not sniff an NFL roster. The personnel is obviously worse.
Yeah, and if you think our personnel is worse last year to this year, wait until you see what we lose next year. Especially,
oh my God, our whole offensive line.
Yeah, so it would behoove everybody, if you're looking to go for the future and get your team ready for a 12-team playoff, to go ahead and get Nico in the game. But if you're interested in going 8-4 with a 6-year senior that you don't trust, be my guest. But I think that's pants on head retarded.
I mean, it doesn't solve anything, like we said. I mean, okay, you go 8-4 with Joe Milton. Whoop-de freaking do. What is that? You don't get anything out of that. You'd be better off going 7-5 with Nico struggling, and you're not even guaranteed to be worse with Nico, by the way.
No, you're not. You're absolutely not. I mean, 8-4 with a 6-year senior. Call it a bridge year. Call it whatever you want. I call it not trying to win as many games as you can for these seniors on this team, which I think is malpractice.
No, yeah, I agree. I think Nico can do a better job. I think Nico's a way better thrower. I mean, well, I think we talked about it a couple podcasts ago. I mean, Nico could come in the game and hand the ball off. You could put Gaston Moore in. He can hand the ball off. I mean, but Nico, we've seen him throw in the orange and white game. Like he could throw. It's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know why. And Ryan, you made a great point about the kidnap thing. It's like someone's got Josh in a bind where it's like, oh man, I really want to change my quarterback, but you're not going to do that. And has a gun to his head. It just makes no sense.
Especially when you're scoring 3 touchdowns over 2 games. We scored 3 touchdowns against Alabama in the first quarter last year.
Well, I can't remember. We scored 0 this game in the second half. Isn't there another game we scored 0?
We
in the second half.
We didn't score any touchdowns on offense in the second half against A&M.
All right, there you go. That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's 2 games in a row where you're not scoring in the second half.
We didn't score any touchdowns against Florida. Well, there was a deep ball to Brew, but it still looked ineffective.
Well, that's where it went wrong. I mean,
we even struggled. We struggled in the third quarter against UTSA. I mean,
yeah.
It's like dude. It's every game where it's like you come out of halftime and it's like, yep, that's it. We came in, we did what we had to do, and we're gonna win. And it's like, no, man, 60 minutes and you play like it's 0-0 the whole game. It makes no sense.
Well, that's why, I feel, I don't want to totally blame all of it on Joe because, like we all agreed, we don't win that game even with Nico yesterday. I mean, most likely. But at the same token, while I'm acknowledging it's not all Joe Milton's fault, I do think there's no point to play him the rest of the season. I mean, you're sitting at 2 losses. Why would you not? And if right now is not the time to play Nico, then when will be? I mean, you might as well let him get some reps. He should play the entire UConn game. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree.
There was a listener question last week. Do you think we're going to get Orange Ball Joe the rest of the year? Well, you got him yesterday. And you just played a team that finished drives with touchdowns instead of missed field goals.
That game's completely different if you scored 2 touchdowns there.
Yeah. I mean, and Alabama didn't run a fake field goal with their coach's son. And
to be honest, that was another play calling issue. Why? The red zone play calling has been absolutely terrible all year, and it just makes 0 sense on how you go down the field. They literally took Alabama down the field, and got to the red zone and it was like a completely different team when you got to the red zone. It makes no sense.
Well, I think it goes back to them not trusting Joe. I mean, everything gets tattered down there.
Yeah, it's like I guess I got to run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, and then you throw a goal line fade to Caleb Webb, and then you're on 2nd and goal from the 9, and then you run. Like, it's just they do not trust him. It makes no sense why he's still the quarterback if you don't trust him. Like, you scored 45 points a game last year, and you're going to live with a quarterback that you don't trust. I keep going back to that. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, and it's getting to the point where it's like, do you not trust Nico? And I get he's a freshman. Don't get me wrong, but like at this point, I see a bunch of freshman quarterbacks doing pretty good on other teams. Don't get me wrong; they're not in the SEC, but like Nico's not getting paid. I mean, he's getting paid 6 figures, 7 figures, and to sit on the bench. That's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, how long is Nico's camp gonna be happy with watching a quarterback that the coaches don't trust when he's sitting on the bench? I mean, you have Nico for he's probably leaving after his 3rd year. You have him for
hopefully.
Yeah,
he might even unless he has a career year next year.
Yeah, I mean, you have him for a amount of games that is limited, and you've already wasted 7 of them. Like,
I mean, that's the one thing. Which I don't think it will happen. I mean, I pray it doesn't. But if Nico decides to transfer after this season, like say he's pissed that he didn't get to play, I mean, that's got to be one of the worst coaching failures I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hope it doesn't.
I honestly don't see that happening.
No, yeah, I don't either. I don't. He's getting compensated very well to be at Tennessee, but then again, what school? I mean, lots of schools could do the same thing. So it makes me nervous in this day and age where it's like, oh, you're not happy? Well, there's 30 other schools that'll pay you to come start. So that makes me a little bit nervous. I mean, and it's kind of the same thing that the Titans are dealing with right now. It's like, what's the point of starting Ryan Tannehill the rest of the season when you know you're not going to win shit? Just go ahead and put Levis in. Let's see what we got. That way you going into next year, you know what's right. I think with me and Ryan, we're listening to Reed's Ranch, and I think they hit the nail on the head with this point. It's like, go ahead and throw Nico out there, get some tape on him. And here's the thing. Everybody thinks Nico is really good. I mean, he was a number 1 quarterback. We all think he's great. But say he sucks. If he sucks, you need to know that before next season starts.
Yeah, so you get a transfer.
Yeah. I mean, if he's great, then you know you have your starting quarterback next year. It's a win-win scenario to play Nico now. You either know he's going to be the answer next season or you know that he sucks, and then you can go get a transfer. I mean, Joe Milton's career is done. I mean, it sucks. Like, he's a great guy. He's a very nice guy, and it's nothing personal. But you're trying to win games. You're in the business of winning games. And Joe Milton is a 6-year senior. He is what he is. The loss was not his fault yesterday, but he is what he is. He's not going to be here next year. You need to know what you have.
Yeah. I always thought before the season, in order for Nico to not play, Joe has to be so much clearly better than him that it's not even close. Or Nico should be playing. And right now, Nico should be playing, based on what I just said. There's not one throw yesterday that Nico couldn't have made that Joe did. And no matter how good Joe played, he didn't lose us the game, but he didn't win us the game. Simple as that.
I don't think he's ever going to do that, though. I mean, Joe Milton is like a worse Alex Smith. Like, he's never going to go out of way to win the game, but when he's playing at his best, you can win with him. But yesterday was not our best performance, and he didn't elevate us at all. Therefore, we didn't win the game. I mean, it's as simple as that. I think everything around Joe has to be perfect. And, another point I haven't really heard anybody bring up is, like NVF pointed out, our entire offensive line is going to be gone would you not rather have Nico experience, actually being protected by a decent line? Because we have no clue what our line's going to look like next year. So, I mean, would you all not feel more comfortable with him getting some reps with this experienced line?
Yes, absolutely.
No, yeah, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think you're right. I think it's especially you got to like. I mean, I said it before. I think Joe Milton plays this weekend against Kentucky because I feel like you win that game. You got to let Nico play the whole game against UConn, and we'll see. I mean,
I think you definitely. The only problem that I'm worried about though is if Joe does play against Kentucky next weekend. If Joe does play against Kentucky next weekend, I really don't see them benching him for UConn. But
no, I agree.
I mean, and the thing is though, is we really thought we were going to see. We haven't been able to convincingly put anybody down this year to where Nico can play the entire second half, which would be nice. Like last night against, I was watching the LSU game last night, and they were absolutely pummeling Army, and Jaden Daniels didn't even play in the third quarter on. It would be nice if we could beat the shit out of somebody and Nico could play an entire second half at least.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with Ryan though. I don't see him doing that. I feel like this is what's going to happen. Let's say everything goes right. We beat Kentucky. We go into UConn. Even if we're up, let's say 21-0 at half, Joe Milton's going to come out in the third quarter, and then they might play Nico in the fourth. And that's just not the right play. I just don't, especially going into the Mizzou game. And like you said, Bryce, if Joe Milton goes in, handles Kentucky, we beat UConn, they're going to start Joe against Missouri. I mean, there's no question about it. And at that point, you're not going to see Nico a lot. Maybe in the Vandy game, but that's it.
The only time we've seen Nico is behind our backup offensive line. I mean,
against Virginia
and against UTSA when they're like, okay, hand the ball off and get sacked a few times.
Get sacked, yeah.
It's so stupid. You haven't seen him get a meaningful rep all year. Get him some meaningful reps. Please. You need to know. Like Bryce explained earlier, it would be nice to know. I mean, I don't think 4 or 5 games at the end of the season will prove that he sucks or not, but you have to know something about him going in the next.
It's not going to be the definitive. Even if he started the rest of the season, it wouldn't be definitive. He's the answer or he's not. But you'd at least have tape. You'd at least know. You'd have meaningful snaps. You'd see what he can do in pressure situations.
It's like I said earlier. If I was the coach, my whole focus would be getting Nico ready to play Georgia because these next 3 opponents are nothing to be terrified of. It's no, you're not going to Tuscaloosa. Nothing is scary enough to merit not starting Nico anymore. Last week, I agree. You probably don't want to start him. That's fine. Against a good defensive line. These next 2 teams, their defensive line is nothing to be scared of. Their road environment is nothing to be scared of. And UConn at home is, we've already went over it. He should start that game. So I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking about Joe. I think we've beat it to death at this point, but it's something's got to give. And at this point, I'm not even blaming Joe anymore. I'm blaming Josh Heupel for still putting him out there.
Yep, and I'll say it again. Ryan nailed it on the head. I mean, what's the reason on letting him continue to play? And I'm not saying the season's over. I mean, you could have a last, couple games of just a miracle season. Yeah, it could happen, but I just don't see it at this point. You got to prepare for the future.
I don't see it happening with Joe.
I agree.
So, goodness gracious. We oh God, guys, we blew it. We blew it. Damn it. It's like we talked about. That's the best chance you're going to get to beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa in the last 20 years.
They
I
would-
mean, do you really think? Usually, Alabama has a first round draft pick quarterback, 2 first round draft pick receivers, a first round draft running back. I mean, they have none of that this year.
their defense wasn't anything to brag about either.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Milrow threw the ball 7 times in the second half, and they pummeled us in the trenches. Alabama was like, "Oh, we're Alabama," and they realized that. That seems like that's what happened.
Well, I'll be honest though. Like our offensive line didn't play terrible. Like other
They-
than the last end of the second half, yes, but like the first half they played incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a whole lot of blame to go around there. What do y'all think about the officiating? Now let's try to let's try to be as objective as possible. I think we'll wrap it up. We'll actually put the commentating and the officiating together here. I thought the officiating was pretty blatantly terrible. I mean, there was some things that I was just like, my job is to watch football, and some of those calls just don't get called anywhere else, it seems. I thought that was pretty unique. I saw somebody comment, I don't know if this is like confirmed or not, but somebody was saying the head official is a realtor in Tuscaloosa. If that's true, that should never be allowed. Like I wouldn't want a Knoxville realtor to call our games. Like that's 100% that's a conflict of interest. Like that should definitely not be allowed. And then Gary Danielson is a joke. It's like he doesn't even try to hide it. And I had non-Tennessee fans commenting, and they were like, "Yeah, we thought y'all were whining, but no, it's true. Like he is slobbing Saban's knob." Like honestly, I think no matter what Nick Saban did, Gary Danielson would be like, "Man, I tell you what, that guy is just great." Like he sounded like a schoolgirl who was seeing their crush for the first time. It was embarrassing. I mean, it was horrendous. And unfortunately, Gary Danielson is doing our Georgia game as well, so I'm sure he's gonna.
Big Kirby Smart fan.
Oh yeah, Kirby Smart's a part of that Saban tree, so of course he's gonna get the Gary Danielson.
Not even sorry to cut you off, but like, did you hear him at all in the first half? Because I didn't.
No, dude, that's the thing.
I barely heard him.
No, so I don't know if y'all saw, but like when we got that interception in the end zone, it sounded like he was narrating for a damn funeral home.
Yeah, it sounded like somebody slit his dog's throat in front of him.
He was literally like, "Oh, that's an interception. And then he spent 5 minutes trying to figure out how it could possibly be reversed. Like he was looking for a flag. He was like, "Let's see if that stands." What the hell do you mean if it stands? It was a clear as day interception. He did not even try. Like sometimes you get announcers that just have no personality and just suck no matter what team they're calling. But Alabama gets a 3-yard run and he ejaculated. And then Tennessee gets a game-changing turnover possibly, and he's like, "Oh, Tennessee got the ball." It's like, dude,
or Squirrel White's touchdown, the first touchdown. He was just like, I don't know if his foot got down, and it's like clearly he dragged his whole foot, and it's just like, come on, Gary, like that's nuts. And I mean, going to the officiating, and I'll shout out Astro Smokey for this one. Just you're a realtor in Tuscaloosa. That's like saying, "Oh, hey, Norma Volfan and Astro Smokey, Bryce and Ryan, you guys are going to ref the Tennessee Georgia game in Knoxville." Okay, bet. I'll do it for free. And
yeah, I'm looking at this, and his name is Ken Williamson. I'm looking at his Remax page right now. This is an absolute fact, and it's a joke. My parents are real estate agents. If they had any effect on something that everybody loves and where they sell a damn house, what do you think they're going to lean towards?
He lives
If you're
there.
buying
He
a house
lives
from
in
this guy in
Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa, like what? Like, and you're an Alabama fan, and you see this guy. Oh, this guy cost us the game. You're not going to buy a damn house from him. That's a joke, and the SEC should be ashamed of themselves.
That would only happen to us. Do you really think that guy would have been calling the game if they were playing at Georgia and Tuscaloosa? I don't. That is
probably a Georgia realtor.
that is the biggest bullshit. Like, people can call us crybabies. People can say, "Oh, well, you still lost." Yeah, I mean, did we probably lose the game anyway? Absolutely. Because Heupel got out coached in the second half. That's why we lost.
Yes.
We did not lose because of the officiating. Nobody is saying otherwise. But we are simply pointing out a fact that it is a major conflict of interest and bullshit that a Tuscaloosa realtor is calling an Alabama game in Tuscaloosa.
I completely agree. Like I said, that's like us being refs for the Georgia game. I mean, that's absurd. It shouldn't be a thing. It's honestly, at this point, you might as well start bringing in Pac-12 refs for games like this. It makes zero sense to me because, I mean, especially guys that live in Alabama and have family that's Alabama fans. Like, at this point, and not only that, you guys know that these refs get graded and no one gets to see it. Like,
yeah,
no one gets to see it other than the SEC and obviously the refs themselves. Like, that's stupid.
Yeah, it's on the SEC website about the officials. They get game grades, but they're not made public. Why the hell not?
Well, because everybody would see how much of a joke it is.
Yeah, they just don't care.
Now, did you guys see what Lane Kiffin said about the Josh Heupel's press conference?
Mm-mm.
He just posted it an hour ago. He said, "I love his reaction. Been in that same press conference in Orange in that same stadium. I know that feeling." That's fishy.
I mean, it's the worst kept secret in college sports. I mean, if you're playing at Tuscaloosa, you ain't getting them calls.
Yeah. By the way, this dude's phone number is on his Remax page, so make him block you, please.
Yeah. We won't get into other things that were said on Twitter last night about women beating and stuff because that was an obvious issue too. I mean, don't get me wrong, Alabama fans. I get you're going to say you don't claim him, but he has 7,000 followers, and the fact that people get away with saying shit like that needs to stop.
I mean, I don't really think I think it's kind of pathetic though how Bama fans have like they act like they don't know about it or they just don't give a shit. I have no problem saying this, and I'm sure, hopefully it doesn't, but it could come true one day. Like if Tennessee had a player like Jermaine Burton, I would not support him. I mean, I'd
want him off the team.
I don't think that's a stretch. I mean,
Jermaine Burton's mid anyway.
If you hit women, I don't want you on my team. I mean, it's a safe. Even if you hit a woman that's a fan of a different team, I don't care. I mean, I think that's a pretty logical take to have. If you hit women, I don't want you on my team.
Or kick players after.
Bama fans are not. Bama fans aren't able to say that though, which is kind of concerning to me. And I mean, I think the guy that you're talking about, NBF, let's just say I think there's quite a bit of people that share his sentiment.
Oh no, absolutely. And like I said, Jermaine Burton is mid. He's not a NFL wide receiver. And it blows my mind that you have men that are fathers and don't have the same opinion as 99% of the men in this like whole ordeal of him hitting not even just the woman, but like look at his attitude during the game yesterday. He scored and then he just kicks Slaughter, like literally kicks him off of him. Like look at his like whole demeanor. Like get him off the team.
No, I mean he's just a punk. I mean even if you take the incident that happened at Neyland last year away, He's just a punk. I mean, it's as simple as that. And, you know, most of Bama's players don't act like that. We're not saying that they do or anything. Burton is the exception.
Yeah, I mean, some things are bigger than football. A perfect example, beating women, like on camera, in front of the whole country, and nothing happened to him. Like, please.
Saban said, "Hey Ryan, you're being a little bit insensitive, Ryan." Saban said he was scared.
Yeah, miss me with that bullshit. He slapped the woman in front of 100,000 people in the whole country on TV, and he takes up for him, and then their fans refuse. I mean, I'm sure some of their fans share exactly what we're saying, but I like just the fact that it's like Normal Vol fan said earlier. He has 7,000 followers, but you don't claim him. Who's following him? Like,
Yeah,
please.
it ain't us. It ain't Vol fans.
No.
That's
no, he blocked all of us.
Well, I mean, Alabama is the same school that, you know, a couple basketball players were involved in a murder, and, you know, one of those guys is playing in NBA now.
Yeah, making millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's another talking point though. All right, so
Yeah.
we're about at the hour mark. Do y'all want to briefly touch on?
Yeah,
Kentucky?
I do want to say something to Vol fans at the end of this.
Yeah.
So, listen, the season's not over. Don't give up on this team. Yes, do we have, you know, issues in the coaching field? Yes, but Josh Heupel is still the guy. You still have to believe in him. The season's not over. Anything could happen in college football. We could run the table. We could lose 4 games. I mean, anything could happen. But I mean, you got to look at it this way. You have Kentucky this week at Kroger Field. I mean, you got to go win this game. You're going to be 6-2 after that.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just saw something wild on Twitter. So, a lot of fans are showing their true colors. That's interesting. This guy, Britt Hudat, you know, she's a Vol fan. She just shared this on Twitter, and some LSU fan said something pretty racist about Joe Milton. So if you want to go report that, I would recommend doing that. It's on her page.
Oh Lord,
comparing Joe Milton to an animal. That's
great.
You know, I think you kind of get my drift. And the funny thing is, it's an LSU fan, and in his bio it says #Christian.
Great.
And he says something just blatantly racist. So,
what's her name on Twitter?
She's not the one that posted it. She retweeted somebody else.
Yeah, I'll set it in the group chat, Ryan. But anyway, so yeah, Ryan, you got any thoughts about? We're obviously going to talk more about it when we get to the
Kentucky preview.
Yeah, when we get to the Kentucky preview, we'll talk more about it. But
yeah, I think you like it's like Normal Vol fans said. This is a must-win game if you want to, you know, even have a chance to do anything with this season. We're probably going to see Joe Milton again, and if we get Joe Milton's performance from yesterday at Kentucky, we win by 4 touchdowns. So, like, I am not really worried about this game. The season's not over. I'm just kind of echoing at this point. But, you know, I just want to see better from Heupel, halftime adjustments and everything when it comes down to how this offense functions on the road and in the red zone. And I hope we see it on Saturday against an opponent that is you should be able to do it against.
Yep. All right. Any closing thoughts, boys?
Nope. Go Vols, and let's go beat them stupid Kentucky Wildcats again, like we always did.
Yeah. Tune into the next podcast to hear my thoughts on Kentucky fans.
They're going to climb out of the coal mines, Ryan. They're coming for you.
Yeah.
All right. That's episode 3. That's a wrap. We will see y'all later this week for the Kentucky preview. Thanks for listening. Go Vols.
Go Vols.
Go Vols, baby.